Well, hello and welcome to Transforming Your Success. And I'm so excited that you've taken the time to join us. My name is Ashley Brundage, and I am your MC and host for our wonderful evening of amazing guest presenters. We'll be talking about transformational programming, transformational leadership, transformational style, transformational ways to transform your career and your success in your career with amazing experts across industry sectors, community nonprofit organizations, human resources, and even experts in resume design and articulating your craft message to gain the exact career that you're hoping to gain in this world. The Be the Transformational Change Fund organization is the presenting partner for this session. And we're super excited to partner with their organization as they have a unique mix of history and blend of bringing people together across the most historically marginalized identity groups and providing resources and allowing them to elevate their opportunities through visibility to gain more success and address real systemic issues that people are facing in the community. And so I'm super excited to be here. And for those that don't know me, I'm Ashley Brundage. I host a lot of the programming for Be the Transformational Change. We have some exciting announcements that are going to happen, so stay tuned for that. We have some ticket sales that are going to be launching, and we'll be mentioning that as we pivot into our Q&A session. You're watching live. Thank you to you for watching live. You can leave a comment. We're checking the comments on our Instagram feeds. And then we're also tracking them on LinkedIn through the live event that you're tuning in through. And then if you're watching the recording, we're sad that you missed us for the live event, but please definitely connect with us in the future for our live events, but also share them even whenever you're watching, so that way other people can connect and gain resources to help them grow in their success. So transforming your success is off to a wonderful start. We welcome you around the world for who's ever tuning in. And I want to bring in my first special guest presenter, Liz Mims. And Liz, hey, how are you doing? I can't wait for people to meet you. I've had a chance to speak on panels with you before, and it's super excited that you were available to join us. And why don't you tell everybody about us and take over the floor? We're so glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. I wish I was in person and seeing all these beautiful faces, but I can feel the energy. I feel the love. I'm coming at you from Pittsburgh, PA, and it is a perfect day, in my opinion, here. It's cloudy and rainy, and I love it. So forgive me if my screen looks a little bit dim, but I'm living my best autumn life right now. As Ashley mentioned, we had connected through some workforce development type things that were going on in Pittsburgh. And I myself have been working in nonprofits in Pittsburgh now for about 20 years, which is crazy, starting with youth work and mental health work. And now I've been with Dress for Success Pittsburgh, which is part of a global community in about 23 countries. Here in Pittsburgh, however, we have been doing this work of empowering women and girls for 20 years now. We're actually celebrating our 20th anniversary officially next month. A big part of what Dress for Success does, as you can tell from the title, is the clothing component, but the emphasis is success. And so success for, 4,000 women will serve a year. There are 4,000 success stories. They're all different. So that means not only are the clothing that we provide that has to be different, it has to be relevant, it has to be what she needs and when she needs it. And a lot of times the clothing and the other things that we provide are what stands between her not having or being able to start a job or a career and being able to start that job or career, because she'll have what she needs to do that. So it's a beautiful job. It's beautiful work. We have an amazing small but mighty team. And my role as Director of Community Engagement has me in 5 counties. We say Pittsburgh, but we serve 5 counties. Butler, Allegheny, Washington Green, and Fayette counties. So rural mostly, and then we get into Allegheny County, Pittsburgh proper. So my job has me interacting with all kinds of stakeholders, including, of course, the clients and the women that we serve. And a big thing that we get asked a lot and that I get to speak to a lot, and which is why I'm here this evening, when we talk about success, to me, one of the most obvious components of success in a workplace setting is being an effective communicator. It is a skill. It is one that I think some people have to hone, maybe sometimes more than others. Some people are just naturally have the gift of gab, and it's more about them figuring out how to get that into a specific context. And I've learned over time, and I think a lot of folks would agree with me, what you wear, your clothing, this external stuff, it really is a form of communication. And with what we get to do at Dress for Success, sometimes it's pretty straightforward. If you're working in a hospital and you need scrubs, that's communicating simply that I am in this healthcare profession. It is a uniform. It is a requirement. That's what it's communicating. But when we get into other things and other opportunities, especially things like interviewing and making the first impression, that kind of communication can be really, really important. And oftentimes can really determine how mostly you feel about yourself walking into a professional space. And so there are a lot of things that I think still are true about when we get into the physical representation of self. And I always like to say that there are going to be two things that no matter what, we as sighted anyway, human beings, when we meet someone and if we can visually see them, we make unconscious decisions about within the first 3 seconds. And that is based entirely on their perceived race and their perceived gender, right? These are two integral parts of who we are as human beings. And so I always tell people I have plenty of stories about dressing the part and entering a room just right. But because as a Black woman, if I'm in a space where somebody doesn't perceive automatically and unconsciously me as a leader, it doesn't matter how I show up and what I wear and what I do. That unconscious bias is going to play out for them regardless. That is a tough but true fact. So I always like to throw that out there because sometimes you could come completely correct. And it's really going to be sometimes somebody else's unconscious bias, whether it's on the other side of the hiring table or in a networking situation. And I've learned over time just to accept what other people have to think about me is really none of my business. It's what I think about me, and especially the people that respect me, that I respect. Those are the people of import here when we talk about that. So just want to lead with that. But just, I think maybe 3 main things that I hope if you remember anything about when we talk about transforming success through dress, that you keep in mind. And I like the alliteration. So I like the C's in this case. And as I mentioned, clothing is communication. It's a nonverbal form of communication. And truly can be an expression of who you are as a person. And one thing I tell folks with the interview, I know in my personal life, I dress very colorfully. Clearly, I have purple hair. I probably now would go to an interview for a nonprofit with this hair simply because I've grown in comfort in my success in my career. I'm very confident in what else I bring to the table. But I also know that in the nonprofit sector, things like colored hair and tattoos generally are not a thing visibly or visually that can be a hindrance in those specific settings. At a law firm, yes, it still would be. So that brings me to my second point, the communication piece, keeping that in mind that your visual representation of yourself in a professional setting is a form of communication. And you want your communication to be impactful and professional. And the unconscious bias aside, you can walk into, be in, and leave a professional space if you know that you brought your utmost professional self. That's the peace of mind you need. But the second part of that is, of course, context. I really hate the word inappropriate. It's just why it's not helpful. It's not a helpful word. I also think it can tend to really focus on this normative white ideology of what is successful or what is professional. And that's a whole 18-hour topic that we're not going to get into tonight. And so keeping it in what I say context rather than inappropriate or appropriate. I like to tell high school women when I talk to them about this, you probably are not going to make a whole lot of sense if you're going to a water park in a wedding gown. You're not going to be comfortable. You will probably be really warm. The gown will obviously be destroyed. The context of what you need your clothing to do in that case does not make sense with what you're wearing. And so context, I like to think about is more important than when we talk about appropriate and inappropriate. So communication, clothing as communication, and wearing what you wear, considering the context. Since we're focusing more on interview and first impressions, the context that I always encourage people to think about is that person who is looking to hire. They're looking to hire, yes, a whole human being, but they're also looking for that first impression in terms of what do you bring as a professional, because they're not looking to hire a best friend. They're not looking to hire a sweet neighbor. They're looking to hire another professional that's going to add value to their team. And so the context in which you keep the visual representation of yourself has to reflect first and foremost professionalism. And professionalism will be in the context of where you're working. So I always tell people, treat it like a date. Do your research, go online, look at their pictures, look at the website, look at the social media. If there's social media of the place that you're wanting to work, you will see visually and start to understand what the culture is there, which is a huge help when you talk about making that first impression and keeping the context within the context of that specific company's or organizational culture. That really does show a care and I think an intentionality on your part when you enter an interview setting to show you've done your research, you're coming, and I will say being very demure and very mindful, and I will never get sick of saying that. The next part of it though with RCs is character. There are ways, and there is actually a site that Dress for Success developed in 2020. I worked on it with 5 virtual interns, and it's a virtual resource site. We add content to it all the time, but there is actually a page on the site with multiple articles, videos, interviews about cultural competency, and even just your character, your personality. How do you infuse that, if you so choose, and if you're able, once again, in a professional setting, in terms of your clothing. It is very possible to do. And I think that's where you mix all of them, where you keep in mind, this is how I'm communicating. I'm communicating about myself, that I'm a professional in a specific context. And I can imbue my character in that. And of course, that has a lot to do with knowing your personal style, knowing what you're comfortable in. And that's probably, I always say that's the most important word is the comfort factor. I've been through so many situations where I thrift all my things, and a lot of times I'm too lazy to try them on. And then I wait till the morning of when I need to wear it and it doesn't fit in whatever way. And I never feel so unempowered and unprepared and out of context as when I am wearing something that's uncomfortable, that I'm constantly pulling on or tugging on. Makes me super aware of my body in not a positive way. Doesn't matter if it's too big, too small, too this, too that. So I always say comfort is really the root of confidence when it comes to dressing. Physical comfort leads to the more external comfort. And that makes for a very confident appearing individual. And I think there's also the emotional comfort that comes with knowing when you put something on, you feel connected to it, you feel attached to it. You're not playing dress up. You're not trying to be somebody that you're not. And it took me a while to really believe that my personal style, which is really kind of more bohemian and a little more laid back and very colorful, could ever be infused with the context of being a professional woman. But I've learned over time, oh no, that is definitely true. And it's been really, really fun to practice doing that. And that is when I feel like my best self, because I'm bringing my best personal self and my best professional self. And it's a really cool thing when you can do those things together. So the site that I mentioned, I will be happy to share in the chat if you ever want to check it out. It's once again more than just clothing, but there is a section there on everything from the breakdown of what's business casual as opposed to casual Friday, a history of hair in the workplace, women wearing pants in the workplace, and the fraught history behind that, and then tips and tricks for infusing who you are, your character, into the context and the communication of what you wear to work. So I hope that was helpful for you all in some way, and I will share that link in the chat shortly too. So thank you so much, Ashley.
Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. Thank you. You build this as 3 C's, and I'm like trying to catch all the C's, and I'm like, okay, clothing is communication, then it's context, and then I saw character being part of this, and then I heard comfort as well, and then I heard
the most important one. So
and then I heard conditions and commitment.
Oh my gosh, there's so many C words.
I mean, come on now. Come on.
Come on.
So, awesome. Well, right below me is the QR code. So regardless of where you are in the country or world, because there's global offices. So if you're watching and wanting to know more about Dress for Success, they are a great organization, and Be the Transformational Change is proud to partner with them as another nonprofit organization. It's another 501c3 organization. We're always stronger together. This is what's so powerful. So you can use this QR code right here, and that's where you can go and find resources on a global scale. And then the link that you gave us, I'm gonna plop that right over here into our guest chat so people can see it, and then just know that this won't go to all the channels, but if you're watching on the replay, you'll see this, and it's a DFSPGH virtual.org, so that way people can access that. So
Thanks,
how's that sound?
Did
I missed anything there? Is that good? We're good?
Great, thank you. You all have a beautiful evening. I can't wait for the rest of that.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, you got us off to a really awesome start, and I can't thank you enough. Just a quick update for people: Be the Transformational Change. It's got a lot of really cool stuff going on in our organization, and we're going to be teasing this throughout our live event. But if you didn't know, the Miss International Queen United States of America pageant's coming up. And people can get their tickets here, which is super cool. So it'll be the first of its kind ever pageant for the international pageant that goes on to Thailand. And it's one of our ways that we elevate visibility as an organization. So, all right, Liz, I'm going to hide you back. We'll see you in our final couple minutes for questions. And I want to bring up another amazing panelist who's here and joining us, because we have some awesome HR experts. And my good friend, Jamie Ashby, is going to join us. And Jamie sits on the board of Be the Transformational Change. And so she helped to put together this program. So thank you for that. And we're super excited that you're a part of this amazing organization, and that you're going to bring your HR expertise into this discussion point, because I think it's pretty awesome. So I'm going to stop talking so that way I don't take any more of your time. But thank you.
Thank you, Ashley, for having me. I'm really excited to be here on this workshop today. And as she said, my name is Jamie Ashby. I am a board member of Be the Transformational Change organization. And in my career, I have served on the leadership team for our employee resource group that oversees the Pride ERG. And really what that was is we are changing the narrative of what it means to be LGBTQ plus in a corporate environment, and really breaking down those barriers and to show that, hey, we're here, we have talent, and this is who we are, and we should be celebrated to be exactly who we are in the workforce. I am an advocate in our community, and I am a former Miss Trans Michigan in 2023 and competed in Miss Trans USA last year. So I'm really excited to continue on with my presentation, and I want to talk about resume design. I have had the absolute privilege of being able to design resumes for trans individuals in our community and really helping getting our community to work. So here at BTTC, we work a lot with the community and breaking down those barriers of helping getting those in our community to work. And it really does start with a cover letter and a resume. And I want to talk to that. So I have provided an example here on my slide deck. You should always start your cover letter with a heading. It gives your name, your phone number, your city and the state that you live in, and the company name that you're wanting to work for. A small greeting introducing yourself and how you found the role and state your interests. You should have done some research on the organization that you are wanting to work for to really be able to speak intentionally to that in your cover letter. And just provide 1 to 2 paragraphs describing why you are qualified for the role and really highlighting your experience and give a closing. And in my next slide, we can actually dissect the cover letter. I have prepared a mock cover letter with just very generic information that you can kind of go over, but you should just put your personal information and employer info and the hiring manager's name. And a cover letter is really just a 1-page document you send with your resume that provides additional information about skills and experience related to the job that you're pursuing. It typically includes 3 to 4 short paragraphs. A cover letter is really important because it serves as the first chance for the recruiter to see the qualifications, that make you a good fit for the position. As I was saying, researching the company, utilizing LinkedIn and Glassdoor is a good example of finding information to really speak to the company's culture and also your interests as it relates to the company, and also visiting their website so you can curate your cover letter accordingly. Cover letters, they aren't always necessary, but they are a good thing to have because some employers do ask for a cover letter while others don't. So just be prepared to have that should you be asked for it. And then also, as we know, having a resume is super important. A resume should really just complement your application that you submit to the company and really just breaks down your skills and your experience in a more tailored fashion than the cover letter. It should be specific to your experience and your skill set. And if you have to print it or give it to the employer, I recommend using a cardstock that can be printed at FedEx or Staples. I think it's really impressionable when you give your resume to an employer and they can feel it. It sets a tone without having to say anything at all. In my next slide, I really dissect what a resume, and the applicant tracking system is a system where organizations or agencies manage many job requisitions at a time. And organizations, they do receive a high volume of applicants. And so the applicant tracking system, or ATS, is a software application that helps recruiting agencies organize these resumes and candidates for hiring purposes. They use automation and screening functionality, and ATS helps recruiters narrow the application pool and really highlights the top candidates for the job. And it does this by using artificial intelligence. A lot of organizations are really getting into AI and the applicant to match their background and the job description. So therefore, your resume needs to be tailored and designed to be able to pass through the ATS system, because again, it is artificial intelligence that's picking up keywords. And it's a really smart idea to look at the job description that you are applying for in that role, and maybe incorporating keywords into your resume from that role so that the ATS system can pick that up and put you into the pool of candidates, while just instead of just leaving you outside. It's a great way to stand out amongst the rest of the applicants. And going back to creating the resume, I have really dissected a mock resume that I have created with basic information related to this make-believe person's experience. So we've really gotten away from the old school term of putting an objective in, and we're replacing it with a professional summary. Consider this maybe like a bio about yourself, just a few sentences that kind of highlights your career and what you've been doing and the skill sets that you have. Starting the resume with your name in big letters is a great way to stand out, and just putting your experience that you have. I have a customer experience role, and we're putting your email, the city and the state in which you live in. It's no longer necessary to put your full address on a resume. We've kind of gotten away from that. I have circled here your hard skills and what skills that you have that you could bring to the table to the role that you're applying for. Also, going back to that job description, if they're looking for a particular type of experience for this role and you have that, you want to make sure that you're putting this in those hard skills that you have, because that's going to set off the ATS system. And so into your experience, you want to start from your most recent experience on down. It's really good to go in chronological order of your experience, because think of your resume as telling a story about your career. And if there are times in our life where we take a break from our jobs for whatever reason, and that is okay. Employers, it is not an immediate X to your application. If you were going to school, if you were taking care of a loved one, or if you were doing something in your life to better yourself for a better comeback to the workforce, it is okay to have those gaps if you can speak to it. I recommend putting bullet points that are just a sentence that kind of outline what you did at your current job, and that really highlights your experience. And putting in your education and your certifications is also absolutely required. You want to showcase the education that you have, any professional development and certifications that are relevant to the role that you're going for will also set off that ATS and push your application through. So that is my advice on curating a resume. And then for a lot of trans individuals, when they are approaching employer, such as myself, and we maybe don't have our name legally changed. And on the next slide, I showcase how you can kind of narrate that by being a job candidate, where maybe you are a trans individual and you haven't had the opportunity to change your name. So I want to walk through that, and I want to share from my own experience on what that has looked like for me when I was wanting to get into the workforce. So for me, I designed my resume, and it had my old legal name, my old name on there, which was my legal name at the time. And I also put that in for the application as well. And it was really uncomfortable because I was showing up to the interview as my true self and female presenting. And at the time, my name, it wasn't a match with who I was and how I was presenting. And it just made it really uncomfortable, where the employer was looking at that and looking at me. This was also in the earlier 2000s when this happened, when I went through this process. And I just figured I had to take a different approach, because my skills and what I had to offer were being overlooked by their curiosity. And that's not what we're here for, right? So I had decided to change my resume to my preferred name, Jamie. And I was able to come to different employers that I was seeking a job through, and I could just show up completely comfortable and not having to worry about that. It is, like Liz was sharing, showing up as your true self and being in the clothes that you want to wear without having to worry about what somebody is thinking instills a whole sense of confidence. And we want to be confident when we're going to an interview and not having to worry about discussing things that are not relevant to the job. And it just really, eases the pressure of wondering what the employer will think, and it allows for you to be comfortable and really confident. I say that when you're offered the job, and this is from my experience, everybody's experience may be different. That is when you can explain your situation to the HR professional and just share, I am trans, my name isn't legally changed at this time, and I understand for legal purposes you will need that, but this is who I am, this is how I prefer you address me, and these are my pronouns. So that is how I overcame that, and I think that would be really beneficial information if you are somebody who is needing that type of advice and wanting to go through the job process, but your name may not be legally changed. So thank you. That is the information that I have to share for now. I say that if you are interested in having a resume, or if you need some help, you can always contact BTTC. That is exactly what we're here for.
So true. Oh my goodness. Jamie, thank you so much. Be the Transformational Change. .org is where you can go, and then obviously people can find you directly on social media if they want, and we're going to be doing another round of resume help from the organization. I know that's part of what we're doing. We're going to do some more empowered career programs, and then I think next year we're going to be doing a whole program with my learning and development program as well, so people can have access to that through Empowering Differences. And you touched on some really great stuff surrounding the cover letter and then the resume, and really helping people understand that I communicate their skill and their expertise. I love your tip around the cardstock. I thought that was really powerful, because as having been an HR professional and someone hands you something, the more effort they put into it, the more, to me, it always felt the more serious they were about gaining this job. And so I love that you said that, because that actually resonated with me as someone who has actually been in the hiring position. And then don't get, I think another thing too is the ATS, and maybe we'll talk about this in the Q&A, but don't get downtrodden because the AI kicks you out.
Yeah.
Just know that that's going to happen. And so that's why you have strength in numbers, right? To counteract that. But I love your tips, and thank you so much for being here and
for having me.
And repping our organization so awesomely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so we have one more guest speaker, which I'm super excited about, and thank you all for tuning in to this amazing event, Transforming Your Success. We've had some really awesome speakers, and you know what they say, no offense to my other two speakers, but sometimes you have the best for last. So Shariah, I'm putting all the pressure on you here. How are you doing out there? Can we hear you okay? Oh boy, we can't hear you. Okay, well, so that's not good. So take a minute, and maybe you're still in the meeting with your other device. So maybe we can get you to turn the sound on the other device. Oh wait, now we can see you on the other device. We can see you still. We can definitely still see you. This is the beauty of a live event. Can we hear you?
All right. What about
Yay! All right. Yay! You got me. You got us.
Yay.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, and I really loved your expertise and your program around support for human resources and helping people on their journey, and the consulting that you do around career consulting. So we're super excited to have you as a guest, and I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to hide myself and put your slide.
All right, perfect. So, hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I definitely appreciate you all. I do want to apologize in advance. I am a little under the weather, so if I start having a cough attack, I'm so sorry. But I am going to talk to you all about becoming a star. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about both resumes and interview prep, but the meat of my conversation is going to be the interview prep. So if we can move forward to the next slide, please. All right, so just a quick agenda. Going to start out with an introduction. Then we're going to take a look at a resume review. We're going to do some interview tips and suggestions, and then a little bit of Q&A. I know that we're doing a larger Q&A towards the end, so if you all want to save your questions for then, that's perfectly fine. So to start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Shariah Marshall. I am the founder and owner of Marshall Career Consulting, LLC, where I offer a vast majority of different services. I do resume reviews, I do resume critiques, as well as interview preps, which seem to be my most popular service here lately. And then also I help a little bit with project management as well. In my professional life, I am an HR professional on the benefits team. I am a retirement administrator. And then also I am a PhD student. So with the combination of all those things, I'm a very busy person, but we get things done. So let's jump right in. We're going to take a look at some interview tips and suggestions. So in my previous role, I worked as a supervisor, and I would often do a lot of hiring and interviewing. And one of the biggest things that I would notice is people would not do their research on the company. I could ask them a simple question of like, well, which of our services do you find most beneficial to you? And they're not able to name it because they didn't do the research. So I always tell people, start by doing your research. Find something about the company that you already know, that you do well, and use that to your advantage in your interviews. So if you maybe find, like I know employee resource groups have been fairly popular here lately. So maybe go onto that company's website, see what different groups they have or what different services they offer, and explain to them why you would be the best person for that role and how you are going to help them. Another thing that I recommend for everyone to do is to research sample interview questions and answers. That is going to help you out a lot. A lot of times you might come across some questions that seem kind of like curveballs, or you're just like, where did this, question come from? I had an interviewer who asked me, why are manhole covers round? And I was so confused. And I was like, I will never, ever, ever let that happen to me again. So from that point forward, I have Google searched interview questions more times than I would like to admit. Another thing that you can do to make yourself stand out in interview process is to bring an example or portfolio of your sample work. If you've done work in that particular field before, brag on yourself. This is your opportunity to convince people that you're the best person for the job, that they're going to have an amazing time with you, and that most of all, their company is going to benefit from having you as a part of their organization. So don't be afraid to bring up those examples, portfolios. I've even gone as far as to share sample Excel spreadsheets that I have made. People might call me a little extra, but it worked because I got the job. So don't be afraid to bring examples and, just share more about yourself. Another thing is to have an action plan. What I like to do with my interview processes is I really look into the role. I see what part of the role I like the best and what I think I will be the best at. And then I make a plan that I'm going to stick to. So what I do is at the end of each interview that I've been on for the past few years is I create a 30, 60, and 90-day plan. I can tell you there's probably not a lot of people that do that. So at the very least, you will stick out in your interview process as someone that they want to work with. These don't have to be long, drawn out plans. It could be as simple as, I'm going to spend the first 30 days introducing myself to the team, or, building or networking. Within 60 days, I'm going to meet with my manager, and these are the plans we're going to have. Within 90 days, I'm going to follow up on these plans. It can be very simple, but you want to make sure that that you're really making a huge. Another thing that you can do that I recommend for everyone is to use LinkedIn to your advantage. LinkedIn has a ton of different interview questions. They have sample questions. They have courses that you can take. And most of the courses that I was able to find are free. That is one of my favorite words ever. Free, free, free. I love free things. So take advantage of things like LinkedIn, where you have the opportunity to not only look up the organization, you can look up their hiring manager, you can look up, the sample interview questions, and really just set yourself up to be successful. The biggest part of interviewing to me is the preparation. A lot of people don't realize that interviewing or even searching for a job is really a full-time job. It's very difficult to do, but you want to make sure that, you walk in, that you're confident, and that you're able to express to the organization what you're going to do for them. The last thing that I suggest for interview tips is to send a thank you. A lot of people will say that is outdated, which I don't think it's outdated. I think how you send the thank you is going to be a little different. Granted, we don't do very much, mail anymore, or U.S. postal mail, snail mail, whatever you want to call it. So I recommend if you create something cute, even if it's like in Canva or just a simple email to say, hi, thank you for your time. I would appreciate any feedback that you have for me. There is nothing wrong with asking for interview feedback. If anything, you're going to create a better relationship with the organization, and maybe they'll keep you in mind for future roles if they are not deciding that you are the candidate that they're going to hire at that time. So don't be afraid to send those thank yous and to build those relationships. If we could go to the next slide, please. Oh, perfect. Got there before I even asked. So I shared my personal resume. I just wanted to do it very quickly. I know that Jamie already did an excellent job of describing resume. So I just wanted to, show you all an example. I prefer to use the professional summary and put it over to the side. Like Jamie stated, it can be very quick, but you want to really hit these people. This is where most recruiters, their eyes are going to go there first. Generally, they say you have between 30 to 60 seconds to really capture the recruiter's attention and make them want to learn more about you. So you want to put the most important things at the top of your resume. Or you can cheat a little bit like I did, and I put some things on the side as well. You want to make sure that your resume is consistent. Try to have the same number of bullet points. Another thing that we've kind of gotten away from is being like, oh, resumes only have to be one page. Not so much anymore. We're in a different culture now. A lot of people, especially my millennial friends, we are not afraid to leave a job and start over. So sometimes all of your work history won't fit onto one page. So don't too much focus on that. Your main focus should be exactly what Jamie said, which is those ATS words. If your resume is missing any ATS words, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to get picked up from the automated systems. So what I suggest doing is, as you're researching the company, also research ATS words for that particular job role. So, for example, if I'm I'm already in the retirement administrator role, if that's what I was looking for, I would go to Google and type in, what are some ATS tracking words for retirement administrator positions, and you'll get a full list and just kind of work those into your resume. So I won't spend too much time there, but that's just an example. Next, we're going to talk about the STAR method. So the STAR method was created by Development Dimensions International. This can be used to help interviewers to answer the questions in a more detailed fashion. It's going to make sure that the interview question is answered in its entirety, and you're also going to have the opportunity to give some examples. So STAR is an acronym here for situation, task, action, and result. So when I was interviewing, I found that the biggest problem that I had with a lot of interview questions is that they were not being answered. People would just start rambling and none of it would really be what I was asking them. So using this method helps you to target exactly what you're trying to get across. You want to make sure that you're providing specific examples. You want to tell all that you've done, maybe even what teams you've worked with. All of that you're going to put into the action. And then the biggest part you want to have is the result. So you want to be able to say, this is the situation that I had. It occurred at this time. You want to be very specific. Here's what I did. Here's the result. So for myself, I would use an example. Let's say if I'm asked a question about how I improved performance in a previous role, I would say, previously in my battery specialist role about 2 years ago, I had a low performing battery station. What I did was I met with the owner, I met with the drivers, and I conducted various training courses that were designed by a third party company. And I opened up the door of communication with the team, for not just for us, but for the sales team as well. And we scheduled regular meetings. As a result, this team was able to improve their battery sales by 20%, and we were able to build a better relationship. So in that, I gave the situation, I gave exactly what our actions, and I also listed my results. So this method is going to not only help you to answer the question in its entirety, it's going to show your communication level to the organization as well. So that's just one of the methods that is out there. There's a couple of different acronyms, but this seems to be the more popular one. And if we go to the next slide, we will see that DDI actually changed the STAR method a little bit and added an extra AR. So at first I was like, what is this other AR and what is going on here? So what this is, it's going to be an alternative result. So what do you do when you have had a situation where, you've done what they are asking you about, but it didn't turn out well? So that's when you're going to use this STAR AR method. So you're still going to answer the question in its entirety, starting with, the situation, the task, the actions, and then you're going to give the alternative result. We are well aware that everything doesn't always work out in our favor, and that's okay. A lot of time organizations are looking for you to express to them why they should choose you. So they're not expecting for you to be perfect. So this is just a way of saying, hey, this is what happened. This is the result that I got. Here's the result that I wish that I had gotten. And this is how I will improve going forward. So don't be afraid to share the results that might not be the best, but you want to be honest. Part of the interview process is just making sure that you present yourself as exactly who you are. That way, when you get into the role, there's no confusion. There isn't any, maybe you get into the role and you're like, I don't like this. Like, you want to just be as honest as possible so that you can move forward with the organization. Another thing to do with your interview, you also want to make sure, I know that Liz talked on this a little bit earlier about making sure that you're confident, making sure that your appearance is together, making sure you have on, the best clothes that you can, dress for success, absolutely. And that confidence can come across not only in what you wear, but in what you're saying and the person that you are altogether. I always tell my clients, let your personality shine in your interview as well. We all want someone who is honest, who's truthful, who's having fun, who's going to make work a better place for us. So don't be afraid to let your light shine, be a star, and just be exactly who you are. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. If we have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer.
Yes, I got the star part now. It's all it came around full circle, which is always the best thing. All the amazing speakers bring you on a journey, and thanks for bringing me there because I learned so much. And I really love the fact that you start with research. To me, that's a differentiator. Someone who knows exactly what they're talking about, and they know the opposition, they know the obstacle that someone's going to say. And this almost kind of makes me think about when I was looking for a job 14 years ago after transitioning, and like people were like, oh, like they didn't want to hire me because they had never met anyone who was trans. And of course, this was like way before, right? We kind of had a whole awakening in the world, and people realized that we existed and stuff. And it was interesting because I I wanted to head on it and say, hey, yeah, I am probably someone you've never met before, but hey, I'm gonna bring in a whole entire community to use your company that maybe doesn't currently use it. And then they were like, and I brought the statistics from my so that made it even more fun. So thank you so much for this. And I love the research part. I love the sample of your work. I think that's really powerful. Sample with the questions also, that was something that really resonated with me too. And then lastly, obviously, yeah, LinkedIn. I feel like that this might be a good idea for Jamie and Trisha. Maybe we have a LinkedIn webinar. We could probably put one of those together pretty quickly for next month. If we're looking for something on our agenda. Speaking of which, let's bring back our other panelists. There's Jamie, and I know Liz is coming back on, so we'll see when Liz joins us here in just a second. We can't see you yet, but there we go. Wow, look at that. We have, it's like you're gonna have a webinar and talk about people transforming their success. Then you need 4 amazing women. That's the recipe for any successful webinar. And I can't thank you all enough for bringing this together. So my main question here, and I want to take one moment of privilege and say and talk for 1 second about the Shine the Light study. And this is something, and for those that are, if you're watching, you've never heard of the Shine the Light study, we're prepping to do this. We do this across Q4, Q1 every year as an organization, and we produce this study. So if you want to have access to the study, go down here and scan the QR code. And what this study really says is it's an opportunity, right, where we ask a lot of LGBTQIA plus people what kind of barriers they're facing in the workplace, how they're feeling about finding a career, how they're feeling about finding a job, and what kind of barriers they're facing, and are they do they feel welcomed, and all of these things are part of this survey. I guess this is my first question, and maybe we'll start. Well, I don't know. You want to put your hand up? Who wants first? But there's a question brewing here. But when you hear that someone is facing obstacles in their career journey or search, what do you think? What are your first go-to? What should we do to help this person?
I can start if that's okay. Okay. I do it a little bit backwards, and normally people don't agree with me at first, but I promise you I'm gonna bring it all in. So if I see that someone is having struggles in their career journey, I start by asking them, what does their performance look like? Are you showing up on time? Are you completing your tasks? And I recommend that people write down what they are doing, and then on a separate part of your paper, write down your company's expectations and whether or not you have gotten there. And if you have not, then I recommend that you set up meetings with your leadership team and ask them, what can I do to be better in this role? Feedback is what is going to help you be successful in your career. All of us are going to have those moments where someone is going to tell us something that we don't want to hear. We just simply don't want to hear it, but we know what we're doing, and we know that we need to change it. So having those feedback sessions and having an accountability partner or a mentor will really help you to overcome the majority of the barriers in your organization. Also, if this is a barrier that you feel is not just a barrier, but it's discrimination, I think it's important to understand the difference between those two and reach out to your HR teams. They are supposed to be there to support you and to help you. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. And sometimes I know it does probably feel like, you're getting ready to put a target on your back and there may be some type of retaliation. Document everything, even if it's the smallest thing that you think doesn't matter. Document everything, send it to yourself, and be prepared to defend yourself and stand up for yourself, because nobody deserves to be mistreated at work or in general. So I would just say, look at your performance, how you can improve, speak with your leadership team, get a mentor. And if those things aren't working, I do suggest maybe taking, it's called the Myers-Briggs test.
Mm-hmm.
And that will tell you, what careers might fit better with your personality. And then that way work won't feel like work anymore. It'll feel like something that you enjoy doing, and it won't take away or make you feel, burned out or upset.
I love it. Anybody else have any thoughts on
Yeah, I just would like to share, I have been that person that has struggled with my career and has struggled with, am I going to ever get to where I want to be? And I know I'm a star. I know I have great talent and a lot to offer. But sometimes we can become complacent and we can not always take a look at ourselves. There was a situation in my last job where I had applied for a particular role 14 different times. And each time I was rejected. And I'm like, okay, I need to take a look and I need to do something different. And as God is my witness and as Shariah is my witness, I came to Shariah and I was like, I need your help because I'm not doing something right. In my interview or my approach, what can I do? And I coached with her. And she gave me the very same feedback that she shared to share my experience, to create a 30, 60, 90 day. That elevated my interview. And I landed a role that I wasn't even trying to get in human resources. And so sometimes when we can position ourselves around leaders that we may not always have access to, it only brings out a better you. And that would be my testimony to that. I think also if somebody were to tell me that they were struggling with their job and they didn't have a job currently, I would ask to look at their resume. Sometimes when we have a job for 10, 12 years, we think that the old resume is just going to do it. It's not true. The industry is changing. The workforce changes yearly, sometimes daily. And it's important to keep our resume up to date. And that would be my first approach to that and go from there.
Love it. Liz, what do you think?
Yes. Oh, yes. Well, I'm lucky because I get to, we say dress, right? Like I said, success is the emphasis, and we're working with women from all ages and stages and all seasons, which is beautiful, right? Women and girls. And so this is a journey. And two things that have really helped me. I always think of a friend years ago who said, you need to start looking at these jobs that you're looking for, like treat it like online dating. Like it is a relationship. A job is a relationship. And let's be real, sometimes you just need a paycheck. I'm sorry, not every and most jobs are not going to be, you love it and it's mutually beneficial and you're in love with it and it's your career. Like very real talk. Many of us go through jobs we hate because we have to pay the bills. Like we don't have choices, and if you have kids or if you're doing it by yourself or if you have limited access to the things you need like education and transportation, like those are barriers that are a lot easier said than done. So looking at it though in the idea of like, okay, no, it's okay. Sometimes it's just I'm going on this date and with this person and we know it's not going to be a love connection, but it passes the time. And I know that sounds depressing, but that's real. Like looking at it once again, putting it in context, sometimes it's a job, it's a paycheck. But then one of the things that I love so much is actually called the Clifton Strengths Assessment. It is entirely strengths based. In other words, when you take it, no matter what answer you get, it's going to be your strengths as a leader. And I just did this with a coworker of mine, someone who I supervise, and we did this course together. Mine were pretty obvious ones because I'm a loud gal, and there was no surprise there that mine is woo and communication and blah blah. Yeah, hers was empathy and kindness, and she was pissed. It took her like a year. Every time we met, she's like, "What? That's not leader. Who? That's not a leader." However, here we are a year later and just did her evaluation. And because she leads with empathy, we now have a DEIA and accessibility team and assessment that was done on all of our spaces. She initiated that, and that was empathy. And so we now also have, like, specifically written a grant. She wrote a grant for FISA so that we can get accessibility clothing for women, like adaptive clothing for women that use adaptive equipment. I wouldn't have thought of that running my mouth, going all over the place, doing what I do well, right? Telling the message and the story. She leads with empathy.
Yeah.
So I reminded her yesterday, Miss Ma'am, you were real pissed about this weak ass, assessment. And that's not a leadership. It is. I'm like, look at your 4 things you've done in the last year that have operationally changed and elevated who we are to be more inclusive. That is your empathy talking. Yeah. And so I would encourage you, find a strengths-based assessment. Sometimes you can get the Clifton one for free. If you have a mentor you love and trust, be like, hey, buy this for me. If you care about my development, get this for me. It will really change how you look at your leadership style, and also how, if you're stuck in a job, it's just a job. Well, let me think, what am I great at? Cool. Then we're going to start little online dating shopping for a relationship that matches what I bring to the table.
Yeah. Wow. This Don Clifton Strength Finders strikes again.
Yep.
And for those that don't know, you can get to them from Gallup. That's one of my competitors. Because you could also contact me, and if anybody wanted access to get their Empowering Differences module.
Beautiful.
You could also,
I think that's preferable.
You could contact Ashley, and she could give you the 90-second assessment versus the 28-minute Strength Finders assessment. But I do like Strength Finders. I think it's important to rate yourself. Myers-Briggs as well. All of these things can help you in your career journey. It's powerful. I'm strategic command and belief is my top 3 strengths, in case you were wondering, Liz. Okay. And communication, actually, that one too. That's my top 4. But yes, thank you so much. And wow, the event went by so fast. We salted away our Q&A session. But we're only a couple minutes over, and I want to always live with my time commitments as best as I can, considering all the other things I have going on in this world. But no, thank you all for joining, because this was absolutely amazing. I did want to give one more call out. If you were wanting to learn more about any of the organizations mentioned today, Be the Transformational Change is our partner organization for the event. So this QR code would lead you right to theirs. I shared a couple of our other resource pages just recently. So this goes right to the main website for Be the Transformational Change. You can find out more about the organization that puts on this event. And then also, just as a FYI, our big beauty pageant is launching. We have the dates. We have tickets sales launching now. So you can get those. The tickets are on sale right there at this QR code here at the bottom. For the Miss International Queen United States of America pageant, which is going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada this year in December. You'll definitely want to be there because it's going to be a blast. And so thanks so much to our partner, Be the Transformational Change. And thanks to the 3 of you for joining on this amazing discussion. And I can't wait till we have another one in the future.
Yes.
Right? Awesome. Thank you all. And thanks to you for watching. And we'll see you on the next one.